My name is Akhilesh, and I couldn't be more excited than what I'm here today. And before I start, let me just share a story with you. And many of you would have heard about that story in many different generations. So uh, I'm not going to try what Sanjay tried the other day, show of hands, because that can actually flop on my this thing. But I'm sure many of you have heard this story called the lion and gazelle in Africa. So the story goes like this: that every morning when the sun comes up, a gazelle wakes up in Africa and it knows that it must run faster than the fastest lion so that it can survive. And in the same jungle, a lion wakes up and it knows that it must outrun the slowest gazelle, otherwise, it'll starve to death. I'm sure this story has been played around many years. But actually, the story doesn't end here. There is a post interval version of the story. And the post interval version of the story is that, irrespective of when the sun comes up, both lion and gazelle runs, but more often than not, the gazelle is saved and lion is starved. So if you were to count the number of times the gazelle is actually killed and the gazelle is actually saved, more often than not, the gazelle is actually saved. And what's the reason for that? I think the reason lies not in the action, but in the motivation. Because for lion, it's just another meal. And for gazelle, it's a life. So imagine if you were running for a meal versus running for your life, where would you run faster? Of course, you'll run faster when it's a matter of life and death. And that's why I'm telling you that I'm actually in a very different position compared to these gentlemen here. Is for these guys, this is just another panel discussion, right? I think you've done it many times, and I've heard many of you speak. But for me, it's actually different. Not life and death, but close enough, because rarely do I get an opportunity to actually ask questions. I've been consultant for 25 years, and I'm always actually on the other side of the table, as you rightly said. So it is a rare and the most beautiful opportunity for me to actually be in a position to ask the question. So thank you guys for giving me that opportunity. So thank you so much. So this is, I'm kind of the one who has to save myself to make sure that I try and make this next 55 minutes highly valuable for you. And the reason I can do it is because I am here to learn a lot more. Most time consultants are expected to know more, but actually they don't. This is, by the way, a general joke on all the consultants. If you don't like it, leave the consulting world, because you might actually be living under false impression that you actually know more. You actually don't know more. The clients are a little bit respectful, so they just kind of give you a space. But clearly I'm here to learn more. But the only job I have here is what I call the job of a traffic inspector. So I'm going to try and stop some of you or let some of you go. And this is the superpower as inherited to me by the IMC of this world today, to say, okay, you got 50 minutes of your fame and I'm going to control these superhumans. But what we're going to do is that we're going to ask them some questions which possibly haven't been covered in the previous panel, and really go down to the detail of what is the L2 and L3 of the problem which you're trying to solve today. And the problem which you're trying to solve today is that what is the growth opportunity for India to get into the new decade of digital transformation. Of course, 5G is something which I see in my back, so it's really the core of what we're going to talk about. But 5G plus many other things, how can they make our world much better than what they are? So without wasting much time, let me start with Ajay. And the reason we chose Ajay is because his name starts with A, and so does the name of his company he works for. So Ajay, that's a privilege you carry, and the one I also always carried in my life, starting with A. How do you see the world in the next couple of years, and how can technologies like 5G really transform our world?
Hi. First of all, I can't change my name every time because of being A. I think I've been asked the first question, but let me just go ahead with that. Thanks for asking. Look, I've attended a couple of sessions. Most of them starts with a lot of technology. But in case of Airtel, our life starts from customers. Whatever we do is an outcome of what we learn from our customers. And from last few years and from day one, we go to our customers, we ask them, what exactly is the issue which we can solve for you? What we have been hearing from last many years, I think after pandemic it became more visible. They said just to focus on three things. Help us grow the business, help us reduce the cost, and can you help us digitize our business? I think these are three problems which we have heard from them. And we are exactly focusing on that. Uh, And I see next few years will be the outcome of what each one of us are trying to do in these three areas specifically. 5G is no different, although it's a new technology which is coming up, but this will give us new model to solve the similar problems which we are discussing. What we are doing as a service provider, we are focusing on the whole strategy for 5G for us is focused on three key pillars. First one is our digital infrastructure. Look, anything and everything which we are seeing will ride on an infrastructure which needs to be built. In last couple of years, we have invested around 46 to 50 billion dollar in terms of radio equipment, fiber equipment, submarines, data centers, and we are making sure at least we continue to invest on them. And yesterday also Sunil highlighted now for 5G, we are rolling it out, and we will be live in next 18 to 24 months in every city, every town, every place, every factory which are there. So I think the first focus for us is building and investing on the digital infrastructure on which we are accelerating. Second thing which we are doing is making sure we build the digital uh, platforms. In last few years, I'll just share some of them on which we are working. The first one is around IQ. IQ is our cloud communication platform. And this started from a feedback wherein our customers gave us a message, how do we engage with our customers to grow their business or serve them better? This platform exactly does the same thing for us. And we build it so that once we move towards 5G, this helps us. Second feedback was around IoT. Everything in this country will be connected. We have built our IoT platform, which is 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G enabled. And going forward, we will be also deploying NB-IoT. And this is largely focusing on multiple verticals. And Industry 4.0 is a very key vertical on which we are focusing this area. Third one, which is very critical for this new use cases which are being discussed, is data center platform. Uh, we are making sure not only we build these data centers in 10 top cities, but for 5G we have gone to 120 edge locations. Because if eventually 5G need to operate, every data will be working on the edge side. So I think that infrastructure is also being built by us, which will enable 5G going forward. And the last piece after these platforms for us is alliances. We realize if we need to make sure in this country we transform, we can't do it alone. We need to work with partners who are sitting there, all the friends. I think this ecosystem is extremely important. Be the ecosystem of system integrators, OEMs, cloud providers, and more importantly, if we need to do innovation, we need to do innovations with startups. So I think that's pretty much what we are doing. And we are making sure our infrastructure, our platform, and our alliances as a combination help us build this new 5G for future.
Wonderful, Ajay. I was given a task saying that six of us have to outbeat the previous panel. I think with Ajay's opening remark, we have already achieved that objective. So with that, I can say your points were extremely crisp. I took down those 4 points. I have several reactions. The first one is that you said that everything will be connected, right? When will you have the ability to connect all the cameras in my home so that I can play it back to my wife saying कि तुमने यही कहा था? Because that's something which I think I'm sure all of you who are married for 20 years struggle, because you're always saying, no, I said this, I this. I do hope that everything in this world gets recorded and Airtel comes to rescue in that. So that's my first reaction. Hopefully that happens soon. I'm actually starting to feel a little bit bad because he said that he doesn't care about technology, he cares about customer. I thought wo to consultants ka domain tha and you were taking into that also. So I'm a little bit discomforted, but we'll make it up. So let me turn to Sanjay, because I think I've got a little bit of what should I say, on my side. Sanjay, those of you who know Mahabharat knows that the critical role he can play is he's saying that we only do what customers ask and all of that. But I hear from customer, and Ludvig, sorry, I'm going to say something in Hindi, saying, and the customer is saying कि यार तुम इतना late क्यों करते हो? 2-3 साल तो हो गए 5G का हुए दुनिया में, तो why so late? So Sanjay, what do you think about that?
Yeah, thanks, Akhilesh. And I know, very relevant question. And I remember that I think it was 2007 16 or 17, yeah, 17, when the first 5G Congress happened here. Not IMC, but there was some other event which happened. And after on that 17, basically it was कि पहला बिगुल बजा था 5G का. And now we are what, quite a few years down the line. But I think to some extent, from the consumer perspective, yes, he may be thinking 5G and all that kind of thing, but I think what service providers have done and what technology providers have given is that with 4G also, his hunger has been satisfied. So it's not that he was starving for it and he was starving for speed or anything like that, which he didn't get. I mean, today also, if you want to start a video call from Gurgaon and come all the way to Delhi, your video call works, right? And that basically shows that his hunger was satisfied. But at the same time, I think what has happened is that even the expectations have gone up. And maybe again, sorry, Ludvig, I will use something in Hindi, that wo sher ke muh ko खून lag gaya hai. So it's from that perspective, yes, he has been waiting for 5G. The consumers have been waiting for 5G. But again, from technology providers, I would say that, are we late in 5G? I would say no. Because all said and done, one thing good with India is that maybe we lag little bit on the technology. So with 5G also, yes, some of the European countries could still say that we are already there and all that kind of thing. But all said and done, it takes time for the technology to get proven. It takes time for the ecosystem to start working. It takes time for some use cases to come up. So we have that advantage, that number one, yes, we are getting 2 years later on it, but at the same time, we will be again getting something which is well proven. So we don't have to go through the teething problem. And then the second point, and sorry about that. Second point is that whenever we start something, our speed is definitely much higher than anyone else. So people used to talk about this online payments and all that enablement which happened. Maybe we were a little late on that, but once UPI came into picture, we got into what, 89 billion transactions within 3 years, which now has become a success story and a model for everywhere else in the world. So once we start, we will pick up the speed, and that's exactly going to happen with 5G rollout also here. And thanks to the service provider, that whatever 4G took about 7 to 8 years, I'm sure here it would be done with 3 years. And that would be, again, faster speed than anywhere else on the globe. And with larger numbers, much larger numbers.
Scale is big. So all of those who loved the optimism, I actually did. So round of applause for Sanjay to say that everything which we do in India is at scale and at a better speed than some of those European countries might have tried to play in the backyard. Okay, all right, I get it. Your fourth strategy of alliances and partners are actually working, because you guys seem to be backing each other. So I love it. I love it. So your partnership strategy is really working. Let me turn to Ludvig. You've seen the world, and in terms of how some of those things are happening on 5G and even related communication technology. Give us a view of what's happening outside India and what could be the opportunities we in India could leverage based on the global developments.
Yeah, so thank you. And I don't think that India is late. I do not think so. I think this is absolutely the right time to launch 5G. It is such a momentum in India right now. I mean, from the inaugural session, it is just beautiful how we see the government and the industry and the whole ecosystem is really working together. And the really cool thing is also from what I would say from an outside-in point of view, the operator landscape is very much the same also. Everyone is aligned, going full speed onto 5G. So I would say actually that right now is the right time to go for 5G. The really cool thing with 5G is that it is so fast. So even if they started early in some other countries, the speed is really only taking up now, and India is going to be such a momentous challenge or change to that. So what's happening in the world for 5G? So first of all, 5G is absolutely the fastest G ever. So 2 times faster than any other technology in terms of adoption. And I'd just like to check on that. So if I'd like to turn to the audience, and I'd like to ask you, how many of you in the audience know that you have a 5G phone? Hold it up. It's amazing, right? And you can switch it on today. So, so to speak about that the world is ready for very quick adoption. So India, in particular, will have 500 million subscribers, according to our mobility report, by 2027. That is a big chunk of the 4.4 billion that we believe will be in the world in the same time. And this year, there will be 1 billion 5G subscribers in the world. So it is super fast, and I think it is really an exciting journey for India ahead. And I will also try to say something here in Hindi, and that's Atma Nirbhar Bharat. That is really the most beautiful thing with 5G, that it really is a game changer. It's a game changer for India in terms of self-sufficiency. It's a game changer in terms of changing the whole ecosystem landscape of the country. It is a GDP increaser. We believe that 0.6% GDP you get right on top with the enablement of the ICT industry that we have here. So I would say it's really the right time for the industry right now in India for 5G, and we've got great things to leverage on around the world.
Thank you, Ludvig. I really like the way you kind of have practiced to speak Hindi, and hopefully the 5G services will allow him to do auto-translate on the fly, and he won't have to actually practice this 17 times, which he did to say Atmanirbhar Bharat, but you actually said it better than I could say it, so thank you so much. Let me turn to another Sanjay I've got. Actually, it's lucky to have two Sanjays together. We talked about speed, twice the speed and many other things, but 5G is much beyond than speed. So what do you think could be the art of possible? What are the things which we could do with 5G and other related technology, and how you guys are helping the world achieve that?
Thank you for the question. And look, 5G is a phenomenal excuse for the industry to fix what they had to fix last decade. And I'll explain what that means. Look, when we talk about 5G, it's definitely one core enabling technology that will define future of internet. And future of internet is going to power the digital universe. I mean, theme of this conference, really. And I think what that truly means is that you're creating a network architecture that's near infallible, that's intuitive, that's intelligent, and most of all, it's secure. Because as Ajay was saying earlier, as you proliferate 5G networks, a lot of data will happen at the edge of the network. So as a service provider, your security posture is good as that last IoT device connecting to your network. So security becomes paramount. You have to make sure you're thinking end to end, right? Another thing that's happened already last couple of years, and by the way, Indian telcos did a phenomenal job keeping us all in business. I think we see that scale is going to multifold with 5G because you get a pipe that's much faster. So the data happens at the edge, and that's where the monetization opportunity is. But you need to have technology sitting at the edge of the network, meaning when a data happens, it's instantly captured, it's acted upon, and it's monetized. And I think in the previous session, people were talking about what are the killer apps, how do we make money. To be honest, I have a similar contrarian view. I mean, we haven't figured that out. I work a lot with Japan, which is rather advanced in this region, and Korea, still figuring out which are the use cases that will drive the monetization. But key is that this industry has an ability to capture the data when it gets produced and then act on it. And because that's where telcos will become a true digital value player and bringing digitization to different sectors. Use cases like making a factory efficient, making a utility efficient, comes with the power of getting that slice into that factory and then making sure you have a control on that network and you're digitizing every piece of that process. Because that's where the true efficiency will happen. So in my view, 5G is a foundation for creating what I call, the foundation or the platform for thriving in Industry 4.0. Because if you don't fix that piece, and I believe telcos have a phenomenal role to play because they are the foundation of making Industry 4.0 work. Our Prime Minister has put a phenomenal vision for the country, but we have to make telcos stand on their feet and get that enabling platform in place because rest will reside on that. So I think those are my couple of thoughts on this.
No, I love your thoughts, and just my side note to everybody who's listening, Sanjay's commitment is par excellence. He hasn't slept last night just to be here with us. He by the way, he was partying hard at an F1 race or something like that. But I give you that, but you still took a red-eye flight here to come, so thank you so much for doing that. As I said, as a moderator, my job is not to create content, and if I do, it'll be useless. But I have a point of view on this one, and I'll take the little bit liberty of going off track of my role. Is while I don't think we have a killer app, because in a country like India, you can't have one killer app. You have 100 killer apps, and sometimes when you have 100, you don't see one stand out. And what we heard about scale, I do think that there are many, many things which have happened with just the 4G, which we have seen in the past, and especially, unfortunately, during COVID, wasn't the best way to drive it, but it actually did drive. And those of you who actually put your hand up with a 5G handset, I don't get paid for saying that, but I'm a big loyal user of Airtel for many years. I hope those phones are connected to the Airtel 5G network. Let me turn to CB. CB, you've been also, again, delighted to have you here from California. So long flight for us, for you to join us here. We've been talking a lot about 5G, but 5G alone doesn't make the world dance, right? There is so much more which happens in the digital ecosystem, which is before and after the 5G ecosystem. So what are your thoughts on how do we bring all of these things together to make that magic apps happen?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Firstly, my congratulations on behalf of Equinix to India and the entire stakeholders in the industry for launching 5G yesterday. That's incredibly great to be part of that, to kind of come and see that happening. And rightfully, Akshay, we in Equinix, being the world's digital platform, all across the world, we've come into India last year, which again, for us is a signal of or a sign of us coming into an India that's growing, that has got incredible opportunity, and also is a very big player in the digital universe, or the opportunity that it has to be a big player in the digital universe. 5G is a big part of it, but rightfully said, 5G alone is not going to make us dance or move forward. There's a whole ecosystem, a whole infrastructure that we need to make sure we have that can help us to leverage 5G and all the applications and usage, the benefits we can get out of that. And for that, at least, there are some major trends that we see globally happening, and India is not unique in that either. At least some of the top ones we see is that most companies in the world is going from a cloud first to a digital first economy. So it's not just about moving workloads to a cloud, but how do we make our processes, our industries digital? So that's a clear kind of a move that's happening. A second one is most of the traditional business models are becoming digital, and that's another trend that's driving the whole element of what's going on. And the third, last but not least, is that from a very centralized infrastructure, we're going down to a more distributed build-up of the infrastructure that we have. 5G is going to play a big part in that, but we also need to make sure we're strengthening the entire stack there and making sure we have a strong digital infrastructure there. And that's where we are excited from Equinix. We came into India last year, and we've got big plans to be part of the India growth and the success of India as it grows. And the last point there is, to your point about 5G, it's also about how do you have an interconnected ecosystem. I mean, I think with 5G, but equally also out, India's got the opportunity to connect globally with and leverage the entire ecosystem that's available and be able to take the benefit of that. And this whole interconnection becomes a key part of driving that. And we're very proud to be a key player in that area, to be able to get companies, cloud players, and the networks to be able to interconnect, to be able to drive the digital economy.
That's fascinating. That's actually all of those things we need to make it make the magic happen. Let me turn to Ajay once again. Ajay, we are seeing a lot has happened just during 4G. Uh, what would be some of your key learnings, and how do you think we as a community of ecosystem come together and accelerate further adoption or development?
Look, as Sanjay also highlighted, many parts in the world, 5G was already there or people were discussing. First thing, I think we all need to collaborate and learn from each other. And that learning is what did not work in last few years, and that mistake we should not be making in this country. I think that's one learning which at least we all should pick it up from the global ecosystem. Second piece, which is also important, in India, once something land, it can only scale up. So that confidence is very much there to all of us. What we need to do is we need to go and work with in-country entrepreneurs and make sure the startup ecosystem, which is doing the maximum innovation, they pick segment by segment, vertical by vertical, and we start solving and working with them. I think that's another piece which we need to do and do it very, very well. And I'm absolutely sure in next few years, if we crack this well, we will see hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs and companies coming up and building these products and solutions for us. Third thing, I think, which is extremely critical, is around business case. We all know healthcare is a vertical which will get benefited. We all know agriculture is another vertical which will be benefited. But we need to drive the model so that we can scale. And the scale can only happen when the whole 5G ecosystem infrastructure cost can come down. And also we build a model to scale it up in different ways, either B2B to C or B2B model or business to consumer model. So I think we still have a lot of work to do. So far, we have just picked up some of these verticals. We are doing some trials, but now it's the next phase for us to go and scale it up using this ecosystem.
That's a great advice. Yes. Do you want to add to it? Yes.
No, I was going to jump in because I really like the comment, and a bit relating back to what we talked about, being early or not. India is so prepared for launching this fast. And if we start maybe from a technology angle, even if it is a bit later, India has the biggest virtual networks and the largest ones across all operators. And that means also that the platform is there for being able to scale into 5G. So from a technology point of view, the networks are really, really ready. The other part is, as you touched upon, Ajay, is the very closeness that we have in India between universities, between the industry and the government in really making this happen. And taking the payment interfaces, as you were touching upon before, Sanjay, is really cool. That was such a dramatic game changer in India. You can go with your phone anywhere, from the luxury hotel to the local, cutting chai place on the street, and you can pay right away. That's amazing. How many million customers are using that? It's super cool, and it's super cool because 5G is a platform. It's a platform for innovation. It is really so different from 4G, where you get one network. In 5G, you get the network that exposes capabilities, and you can build upon it. So I'm really optimistic for what India can do in terms of building things on this network. And I encourage all of the industry and all of you that were holding up your phone to take that opportunity to build things on this platform for innovation. Imagine what you can do with networks that you can define yourself. It's really, really cool.
You want to add something?
Yeah, just wanted to add a little bit onto what Ajay was saying. So I do agree with the entrepreneurs kind of a system which has to come up, the startup and innovation around that. Maybe one difference of opinion, and sorry about that, on the
Don't be
agri.
sorry at all. No,
Don't
I,
worry.
I'll cover it.
Yeah, so I think on what you said about healthcare, manufacturing, I would agree with it. But I'm still not sure that whether agriculture will still make a big impact in the beginning for next, I would say, 4 to 5 years. When all said and done, the farmers which are there, small kind of 2 acre kind of land, 3 acre kind of land, very limited resources to kind of get this kind of a technology. But yeah, so agriculture, I will still put, I know that it is a fancy word and it is the word which catches with Indian environment, but would be difficult to make that.
I fully
I
agree,
would,
and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would more put more bets still from your perspective to make money, and I understand that yes, skepticism around where to monetize it. That's definitely there. But entertainment, I would still put as the number one, whether it is gaming, whether it is AR, VR, your cricket matches, your movies, that I would still put where youngsters may be ready to pay money for.
I fully agree. Nothing to be sorry about. I think, but I personally am too passionate about it. In a country wherein 23% of GDP, 60% of employment is on farmers, if we are not able to fix that piece, I think we need to make, as an ecosystem, a big shot to this. Government, people, different kind of models, we need to make sure if we can hit this, then we are creating as not only a business scale, we are creating an impact on the nation. And that's the reason I think we all need to give a best shot, whether it takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but at least we expect all of us to push this agenda.
Sorry, I'm jumping in on the agriculture again, because India has the world's largest cattle population. Did you know that? The world's largest cattle population, but it has the lowest production of milk, the lowest production. So there is really something that needs to be done, and technology can change that. And we need to think about that in India. How do we use technology to be that game changer? To create that self-sufficiency, to make that jump. And so I really believe that it can make a change in agriculture, but we also need to jump in and do something about it.
Yeah, go ahead, Sanjay. I think sorry, you want to go ahead, Sanjay?
CB, please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other opportunity that we have with 5G, apart from making sure that we bring in applications and use cases for consumption in India, is how we can expose that globally. 5G, along with everything we build up, will actually take India to be more connected globally, much more than even what it is now. I mean, India is already very, very connected in the global ecosystem. But this one accelerates that and enables India to truly get way more connected into the global ecosystem and play a bigger part there. And that's where I think the opportunity that we have with 5G and the latest technologies and the whole ecosystem we're able to build provides an incredible opportunity.
Thank you for that. No, I had 2 points of view. One around the role India can play. I'll tell you a story. 10 years back, I used to be with Ericsson those days. We were looking at yield of investment in telcos. And at that point, it was a research project I was part of. It was 42%, which was pathetic compared to any other industry. And I can tell you, when we were looking at how can we solve it, and one of the tools was outsourcing, right? It was tried multiple places, but finally it was India. I think Airtel was the first to coin that model. And why am I giving this reference is because I believe, if you make something work in India, you're testing it for scale, you're testing it for cost, and that's why I believe, what Ludvig was saying, I think India has an important responsibility to jump in and experiment and define some of these use cases. And the point that you made, agriculture is the backbone of this country. Though it looks pretty difficult given the order of that industry. But if you solve for that, If you just increase productivity by 10% in your agriculture industry, you're paid for half the cost, right? So that was one point of it. The second one, I think 5G is about economics of internet. Because what we learned last 2 years is that when you give digital power to the masses, they will make digital as their core business. We were used to apps being an extension of business. Now apps have become the business. And I know these guys had to take a brunt to, manage that load and capacity and bandwidth needs. But the key is, how do you make it affordable? And honestly, I believe, that's why I said 5G is probably a faster technology, but it's an excuse for you to transform this network so you can lower the cost per bit, production of cost per bit. Because when you solve that, and then experimenting and creating the use cases is, how do you then put monetizable services on top of that efficient machine is what's going to pave path for successful 5G, in my view.
I only wanted to say we need to make the cost down will come from all of you.
Absolutely.
So, because you need to make the cost down for us to be
Because
making
let
the
me
cost
respond to
down in the
Ajay
country.
quickly. Key for that is honestly let go what is there in the network. Because today we have 5 technologies sitting on top of each other. The amount of boxes and nodes that are in the network is guzzling energy. It's guzzling space. If you take that out, remove the layers in your network, I think that will make it efficient, honestly. I hope you agree with that.
I fully agree.
he doesn't.
I fully agree, but in India there are 200 plus million subscribers which will still use 2G. From 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, we need to run all the networks. And that's the reason.
And I'm for the inclusion, so yes, you should.
That's the reason we have many boxes available. But I think the will and the intent and the interest which we have in this country, per GB cost was 250 rupees. It came down to 5 GB. User used to consume 1 GB. Today they consume 16 GB. We have the lowest ARPU. We have the lowest spectrum available, which got corrected with 5G, and we fixed it together. I think this is a new journey which we all are starting, and I hope together we'll fix it again.
I think it's
Yes,
really...
everybody's going to speak. So yeah, please, Sanjay.
No, I think I agree with this particular thing that ARPU lowest, and I think that's making the whole ecosystem suffer. It's not only the service providers; it's the whole ecosystem.
He's joined the
getting
club with
suffered
you.
because of that.
Okay, all right.
Because it's the per GB cost is the lowest, and per radio base station cost is the lowest. Per router cost is also the price is also the lowest. So it's something, and
You made
maybe
a collective problem.
little bold statement here. I think we ourselves are to be blamed for it.
Wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
the competition which we got into it, and we brought
have
it
to
to
find
this
our own
level.
solution.
If it had been like 20-30% higher than this, I don't think we would have lost total number of subscribers in India. We would have still kept the same number of subscribers.
Okay,
So the bottom line is you need to increase the ARPU so you can feed the ecosystem, because then we'll put back into experimentation, because that's what's needed.
okay, all right, Ludvig, please.
Cost is a really, really important point. So I'm glad that that's touched upon here, because the only, and especially in India with the scale, we just need to manage that. Partially, it is fixed by technology, but partially it is also challenged. So how it is fixed, of course, is that we horizontalize the network, we splice it into so many different commodities and vendors, and then the vendors here on the table, you let us beat each other up, and we try to win the deal. So of course costs go down for the individual components. But the challenge is that as you split it into all of these different components, it also means that the systems integration becomes more complex, the supportability become more complex, and I'll tell you, with the 5G networks that we've launched, actually this complexity increases. And as you say, Ajay, we need to continue to support the older generations as well. So what is really important as we make this journey, and that's also a responsibility that we have as vendors, that we figure out how to work together. Because when we have running on an Equinix data center. We've got some equipment from Nokia, some switches. Maybe the transport network is from you guys. So it's really working together, right? That's what we need to figure out, and it's not easy. But the flip side of it is that the benefits are so great, because when you do that, then you can use this network, you can slice it, and you can use it in so many different ways. So the combination of building the ecosystem is super important, because the benefits are greater than the complexity that you create. But you only get that 1 + 1 to 3 when these new use cases are built, and that's why. Back to the responsibility. We have a responsibility in the industry to really create those use cases. And then we get the 1 + 1 is 3.
I'm seeing, sorry, short, yeah, CV.
Just, I know there's an element about building the network and the cost of that, but also if we reframe this to look at what does the digital universe offer, I think the whole element of digitizing enterprises, digitizing use cases and driving that lands up getting more revenue for most of these organizations at a much lower cost base compared to transforming the technology. And that actually offers an opportunity to drive up revenue, which then hopefully doesn't bring the question back to what is the cost per bit or what is it that I'm getting, but what is the value that we're all creating together and how do we share that value across all the players. And that's, I think, a huge opportunity now we have compared to before, where it was always down to the lowest cost conversation that any time we would always have. So the digital universe, the current way of moving in with 5G, I think gives us a huge opportunity around that.
That's more optimistic. All I was saying that we started on a very high note and a very exciting thing. I suddenly see everybody is worried about their problems, and yes, operators are struggling with ARPUs, the providers are struggling for the money. The only person who's getting excluded from this and completely made redundant is consultants. So I'm not, suddenly you guys took over the whole panel discussion, but I really liked it. If you really like the energy here, I'm seeing the next panel members have already entered, but I do want maybe 3-4 more minutes. If you really like their energy and passion, can you give them a round of applause, please? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that's the last segment. By the way, I didn't tell you guys that I have a captive audience of 5 of you, and I also did not tell them that I do have a rapid fire round at the end. Okay, so you got, and try and be quick and fast. So I'll try and ask maybe first from CB your side, and then I'll come the next question from Sanjay your side. One thing which you're most proud of about the Indian mobile ecosystem?
The mobile industry is probably the most vibrant and the place where there's an incredible opportunity for the world and for the world to see through.
So vibrant opportunity, okay.
I'm sorry?
You said vibrant opportunity.
Vibrant opportunity for India.
All right. Ludvig, what's one thing you're proud of?
I'll use Hindi again.
Yeah, oh, wow.
So it's about intent and purpose. So think about the different generations that we have in India. For the different 2G, 3G, 4G, it was all about the consumers. 5G will also be about the consumers. So 5G NIAT is really about creating something together. And in Ericsson, we use a phrase, called imagine possible. So 5G NIAT, imagine what you can do with 5G.
Wow. 5G NIAT, that's something which I will remember for a long time. Sanjay, what's one thing you're proud of?
What I am proud of? Yeah, I would say changing life of lower strata people.
Inclusion.
So when my maid uses the video and the video call and all that, when the Nukadwala Panwala uses for UPI payment, that's what makes me proud.
Proud, very good. Ajay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Please let the claps coming. This gives us encouragement.
I think it will change. It's a new revolution which will change the country, every industry which exists. It is not just for consumer, the way the consumer ecosystem got changed. This time it will change many industries, the whole of B2B ecosystem.
Ecosystem revolution. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
I think, honestly, 5G is a start of India leading into something. I think we missed previous revolutions.
India's global positioning.
India standing out.
India standing up. Stand up India. Okay, perfect. That's a good one. All right, now I'm going to ask a tough question, and it starts from you. One regret. One regret.
I think regret is, look, 5G, fantastic. We put a radio up there. I think we still need robust transport networks. We need fiber everywhere because, when you move these high capacity service on this 5G network, your transport network is going to be a showstopper because that we need to fix. And I think that's kind of government has
so-
many initiatives. They need to kind of double down on that.
Not
Fiberization.
Not so great transport network.
Yes.
Okay, Ajay, one regret for the industry.
I think I will just pick up the same.
Sure.
In terms of infrastructure, how do we...
Okay, infra resilience.
Yes.
Okay. One regret. Yeah, what we did in the past. Past. Future में regret नहीं करेंगे. Future तो these guys will make.
Okay, yeah, past regret, I think I would be still saying the same thing. Too much competition.
Too much
driving the
competition.
pricing down
Perfect,
and
okay.
regulatory environment.
Hyper competition. Okay, Ludvig.
I never look back. I always look forward.
Forward.
What we
No
really
regrets.
what we really need to think about going forward is talent. Let's make sure that everyone in the industry continues to evolve so that we do this generation in a great way.
Great. Okay, positive. One regret.
We from Equinix have no regrets. We actually are looking forward in India and
Okay,
excited
so
for
you
what
no
it can
regrets.
do. Sorry?
You got
We
no
have
regrets.
no regrets
You don't
about
get
what's gonna-
points. Okay, it's a scoring at the end. All right, so 0 points for you. Okay, the third. I have two more questions. And the third question. Let
I
me.
have a quick point. Talent is not a regret.
Minus points for intruding, but please go ahead.
Talent is the greatest power this country has.
Talent. Okay.
Talent's
You can
not a
borrow
regret,
talent, right?
honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Talent is actually a big thing. Okay. Third question. Maybe let me start with you, Ajay. You might have more consumption or more ARPU.
ARPU is a derivative of consumption. So definitely more ARPU. But in that, if you need to give more consumption, that's okay.
All right. More ARPU, more consumption.
No, more consumption.
More consumption. Okay.
Yeah, that would lead to
These large systems on a chip.
Yeah.
Large, big
More-
racks on a little chip.
More ARPU, more consumption. You don't get to choose the third option.
I said third option is
you have to use my
technology, make it efficient.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Ludwig, more ARPU, more consumption. Or
It's absolutely ARPU,
More ARPU.
but it is through a broader amount of subscribers beyond humans.
perfect. Okay.
I guess more consumption is going to lead to more
More
opportunities
consumption.
and
Okay.
output. Yeah.
My last question. We had a good discussion on agri versus something else. If you were to bet on one industry which will drive economic and social, both economic growth as well as social growth through 5G, which industry are you most passionate about? So maybe let me start with Ludwig. You? One industry.
For India, agriculture.
India.
Agriculture.
Agriculture. Okay. Sanjay? Agriculture. Agriculture.
manufacturing.
Manufacturing. CB.
I mean, any industrial application which actually can help agriculture too, but industrial applications.
Industrial applications. Perfect. Okay, all right. I could go on forever, but I'm seeing that somebody is telling me saying my time is up. So if you really enjoyed it, and certainly from the previous panel, another round of applause, and thank you so much for being a wonderful panelist. I couldn't have expected more, so thank you so much.